everyone. My name is Ryan, and I am a Bible nerd. Today, I want to talk to you about what is the Bible in 5 minutes or less. That's going to be pretty tough, but let's give it a try. So, what is this thing? I mean, it's usually leather bound, big. I mean, look how thick this is. I mean, it's heavy. You've got small print. You got these footnotes everywhere. You usually have these little things dangling out of this thing. I mean, what is this thing? It's not just one book. It's actually a collection of 66 books over many different authors, over many centuries of history between the people of God. So you have two different sections that are in the Christian Bible. You're going to have the Old Testament, which is the Hebrew or Jewish scriptures. Then you're going to have what's called the New Testament, which is Jesus's birth, his ministry, his death, resurrection, and then ascension, along with the events that happened after those. So that's really what the two major sections for the Christian Bible is going to be. For the New Testament, this is where it has all the information about Jesus. You've got the Gospels, you've got the events that happened during his ministry, his life, his death, and resurrection. Then you're going to have letters from the apostles that give you tips and are building the church around what happened to the Messiah. Then you're going to have Hebrews and James, these other books that are all helping the church grow and direct it during the early stages of the Christian church. In the Old Testament, you're going to have the Jewish scriptures. You're going to have the first 5 books are known as the Torah, or the books of Moses. Torah means law. So this is where you're going to have a lot of different things that Jewish people have studied and meditated on for centuries. There's incredible rich history in the first 5 books of the Bible. The first one is Genesis. This is where you're going to have the creation story, Adam and Eve. You're going to have the story of the flood and Noah. This is where you're going to have the story of Abraham, who is the father of many of the major religions, major faiths in the world, and what happens with his kids as they become the 12 tribes of Israel. You got the story of Joseph. Then you go into the Exodus stories where you talk about Moses. This is where they are now become enslaved in Egypt. Moses frees the people. You're going to have the plague stories, just some incredible stories within Exodus. And then the parting of the Red Sea and moving to the other side of the Red Sea, heading towards the Promised Land. Then you're going to have the story of Numbers, or what's known in the Hebrew scriptures as the Wanderings. This is where they're wandering through the desert. You also have the Scroll of Leviticus, which is a pretty tough read. I mean, it's one of the harder ones to get through because it has a lot of law code and rituals and animal sacrifice and all these things that were supposed to happen at the tabernacle. Then you're going to have the book of Deuteronomy, which is kind of a recap of the law. It's actually, Deuteronomy means second law. It kind of clarifies some of the things. It goes through and gives kind of a eulogy, and it has some really powerful moments within the book of Deuteronomy. But it has a lot of law code and things of that nature. But the first 5 books used to be so intimidating to me, but the more I've gone through it, there's so much rich depth in those books, and so many other books kind of hyperlink back to the Genesis story or Exodus, the stories that are in those books, whether it's the burning bush or the 10 commandments, or Deuteronomy's got some beautiful things that are in there that get hyperlinked and referenced like crazy throughout the rest of the book. So the rest of the Old Testament is also going to have the story of King David. You're going to have the story of Kings and Chronicles, what happens once they enter the Promised Land and how those tribes kind of deal with it. There's a split between the two kingdoms, lots of things going on within the Jewish history in the book. Then you also have a lot of prophetic writings of Ezekiel. You've got Isaiah, an incredible scroll. The book of Isaiah is just incredibly rich and deep that's in there. So my favorite books in the Old Testament are also Proverbs and the Psalms. These are just beautiful writings, beautiful words of wisdom. I really do like Ecclesiastes, which is another wisdom series. And then the book of Job is so rich and deep. How you have the story of Job. Most people kind of know that story. But it's really, really powerful how they kind of go back and forth for so many chapters between Job and his friends on why he's going through this punishment or why he must have sinned or something. So it's really just rich information. I'd love to see somebody do like a play on that or something, where they have kind of the back and forth between everybody and see how that would play out. But the book of Job is just incredible. But I'm a Bible nerd. Everything's incredible. The more and more I study this, the more rich and involved it happens to get. So that is a really quick, basic recap of such a big book but we're going to dig deeper and deeper as we work on this channel. But I'm just trying to get it under 5 minutes. So hopefully we came close. But like, subscribe, comment below. Love to be on this journey with you as we go through this wonderful book, and hope to see you next time. God bless.